ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम. Today we start new chapter, Srimad Bhagwatam, Canto 11, chapter 28, Jnana Yoga, shloka number 1 to 8. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Parasvabhava Karmani Na Prashamset Na Garret Vishwam Ekatmakam Pashan Prakrutya Purushena Cha Parasvabhava Karmani Yah Prashamsati Nindati Sah Ashu Brashyate स्व अर्थात असति अभिनिवेशतः तेजसे निद्रया आपन्ने पिंडस्थ नष्ट चेतनः मायां प्राप्नोति मृत्युं वा तत्वत् नाना अर्थ दुःखपुमान् किं भद्रं किं अभद्रं वा द्वैतस्य अवस्तुनो कियत् वाचा उदितं तत् अनृतं मनसा ध्यातम् एव च छाया प्रत्यव्यय आभासाः हे असन्ति अपि अर्थकारिणं कारिणः एवं देह आदयः भावाः यच्छन्ति आत्मदृ यच्छन्ति आत्म मृत्य मृत्यो भयम् आत्मा एव तत् इदं विश्वं सृज्यते सृजति प्रभुः त्रायते त्राति विश्व आत्मा ह्रियते हरति ईश्वर तस्मात् न हि आत्मनः अन्य अन्यस्मात् अन्य भाव निरूपित निरूपिते अयं त्रिविधा निर्मला भाति आत्मनि इदं गुणमयं विद्धि त्रिविधं मायया कृतम् एतत् विद्वान् मत् उदितं ज्ञान विज्ञान नैपुणं न निंदति न च स्तौति लोके चरति सूर्यवत्. Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one should neither praise nor criticize the conditions, nature and activities of other persons. Rather, one should see this world as simply the combination of material nature and the enjoying souls, all based on the one absolute truth. Whoever indulges in praising or criticizing the qualities and behavior of others will quickly become deviated from his own best interest by his entanglement in illusory dualities. Just as the embodied spirit soul loses external consciousness when his senses are overcome by the illusion of dreaming or the death-like state of deep sleep, so a person experiencing material duality must encounter illusion and death. That which is expressed by material words or meditated upon by the material mind is not ultimate truth, but therefore is actually good or bad within this insubstantial world of duality. And how can the extent of such good and bad be measured? Although shadows, echoes, and mirages are only illusory reflections of real thing, such reflections do cause a semblance of meaningful or comprehensible perception. In the same way, although the identification of the conditioned soul with the material body, mind, and ego is illusory, this identification generates fear within him even up to the moment of death. The supersoul alone is the ultimate controller and creator of this world, and thus he alone is also the created. Similarly, the soul of all existence himself both maintains and is maintained, withdraws and is withdrawn. No other entity can be properly ascertained as separate from him. The supreme soul, who nonetheless is distinct from everything and everyone, Else, the appearance of the threefold material nature which is perceived within him has no actual basis. Rather, you should understand that this material nature composed of the three modes is simply the product of his illusory potency. One who has properly understood the process of becoming firmly fixed in theoretical and realized knowledge, as described herein by me, does not indulge in material criticism or praise. Like the sun, he wanders freely throughout this world. Purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Material situation and activities appear to be good, passionate, or ignorant, according to the interaction of the modes of nature. These modes are produced by the illusory potency of the Lord, which is itself not different from its master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, a devotee of the Lord remains aloof from the illusory temporary manifestation of material nature. At the same time, he accepts material nature as the potency of the Lord and thus essentially real. The example may be given that modeling clay is shaped by a child into various playful forms, such as tiger, man, and or houses. The modeling clay is real, whereas temporary shapes it assumed are illusory, not being actual tigers, men, or horses. Similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation is modeling clay in the hands of Supreme Lord, who acts through Maya to shape the glaring temporary forms of illusion, which absorb the minds of those who are not devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A conditioned soul desire to lord it over material nature and thus criticizes another conditioned soul whom he considers inferior. Similarly, one praises a superior materialist because one uh, aspires to that superior position in which one may dominate others. Praising and criticizing other materialistic people are thus directly or indirectly based on envy of other living entities and cause one to fall down from swa-artha, one's real self-interest, Krishna consciousness. The word asati, abhiniveshatah, by absorption in the temporary or unreal, indicate that one should not adopt a concept of material duality and praise or criticize other materialistic person. Rather, one should praise the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord and criticize the mentality of rebellion against the personality of Godhead, by which one becomes a non-devotee. One should not criticize a low-class materialist, thinking that a high-class materialist is nice. In other words, one should distinguish between the material and the spiritual and should not become absorbed in good and bad on the material platform. For example, an honest citizen distinguishes between the life of civil freedom and that of imprisonment, whereas a foolish prisoner distinguishes between comfortable and uncomfortable prison cells. Just as for a free citizen, any situation in prison is unacceptable, or a liberated Krishna conscious devotee, any material position is unappealing. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur indicates that rather than trying to separate conditioned soul by materialistic distinction, one should bring them together to chant the holy names of the Lord and propagate the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. A non-devotee or even an envious third-class devotee is not interested in uniting people on the platform of love of Godhead. Instead, he unnecessarily separates them by emphasizing material distinctions like communist, capitalist, black, white, rich, poor, liberal, conservative, and so on. Material life is always imperfect, full of ignorance, and disappointing in the end, rather than praising and criticizing the high and low creatures of ignorance. One should be absorbed in Krishna consciousness on the spiritual platform of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. The material senses are described here as Tejasa because they are born of false ego in the mode of passion, impelled by false ego. one dreams of the material world without the personality of Godhead and makes plans to lord it over nature to exploit her resources. Modern atheist scientists have developed this false ego to find art and imagine themselves great heroes conquering the obstacles of nature and moving forward toward inevitable omniscience. Such dreamy materialists are repeatedly stunned by the crushing reactions of the laws of nature, and their arrogant agnostic civilization are repeatedly annihilated by world wars, natural disasters, and violent shifts of the cosmic situation. On a simpler level, all conditioned souls are captivated by sex attraction and thus bound to the illusion of material society, friendship, and love. They imagine themselves to be wonderful enjoyers of the material nature, which suddenly turns against them and kills them, just like the tamed animal that suddenly turns on its master and kills him. The actual truth is the supreme personality of Godhead from whom everything emanates, by whom everything is maintained, and in whom everything merges to rest. Material nature is the reflection of the absolute truth, and by the interaction of the material modes of nature, the innumerable varieties of matter appear to be separate, independent truth. Maya, illusion, distracts the conditioned soul from the absolute truth and absorb his mind in glaring manifestation of matter, which ultimately is non-different from the absolute truth, being an emanation from him. The sense of good and bad as separate from the Supreme Lord is like the good and bad dreams experienced by a sleeping person. Good and bad dreams are equally unreal. Similarly, material good and evil have no permanent existence separate from the personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is the well-wisher of every living entity, and therefore execution of his order is good, whereas disobeying his order is bad. Lord Krishna has created a perfect social and occupational system called Varnashram Dharma, and Lord has further given perfect spiritual knowledge in Bhagavad Gita and other literature. Execution of Lord Krishna's order will bring complete social, psychological, political, economic, and spiritual success to human society. We should not foolishly look for so-called good outside the orders of the personality of Godhead. Such orders are called the laws of God and constitute the essence or substance of religion. The absolute truth, Lord Sri Krishna, expand his external potency and thus creates the material cosmos as with the sun globe and its expanded rays. The Lord and his expanded potency are simultaneously one and different. Although to conditioned souls, material duality seems to be based on the modes of nature. The entire material manifestation is actually non-different from the Lord and is of one ultimately spiritual nature. The modes of nature create sense, object, demigods, human beings, animals, friends, enemies, and so forth. But in reality, everything is simply an expansion of the potency of the Supreme Lord. Foolishly, the conditioned soul tries to lord it over material nature, but the Lord Himself, being non-different from that nature, in its only true proprietor. In several places, the Srimad Bhagwatam has given the example of spider spinning its web by expanding thread from its own mouth. Similarly, through his own potency, the Lord manifests the material world, maintains it, and eventually withdraws it within himself. Although the Lord is the unique supreme personality of Godhead above everyone and everything, he is simultaneously and inconceivably non-different from everything. Therefore, it is the Lord himself who is manifested when the Lord creates. It is the Lord himself who is maintained when the Lord maintains, and it is the Lord himself who is withdrawn at the time of annihilation. Although the Lord is non-different from both his spiritual abode and his material creation, still the spiritual abode Vaikuntha is always superior to the material manifestation. Both matter and spirit are energies of the Lord. Yet the spiritual energy is molded into the eternal form of bliss and knowledge. whereas the temporary form of matter are symbols of ignorance and frustration for the conditioned souls who covet them. The Supreme Lord is himself the reservoir of all pleasure and is thus dear to his devotees. The presumption that the Lord cannot give us complete pleasure is due to our misidentifying him as a product of the material modes of nature. As a result, we pursue false happiness in the deadly embrace of Maya and thus deviate from our eternal loving relationship with Lord Krishna. Every living entity emanates from the Supreme Lord and is thus naturally full of realized knowledge. But when one becomes attached to praising or criticizing material good and bad for one's personal sense gratification, one's expert knowledge of the Lord becomes covered. A pure devotee should neither love nor hate any aspect of material illusion. He should rather accept whatever is favorable for serving Krishna and reject whatever is unfavorable, following the guidance of bona fide spiritual master. Thus end the purport. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांच नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देश तारिणे वांछा कल्पतरुभे च कृपा सिंधुभे एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा। दंडवत प्रणाम। Today we start new chapter of Srimad Bhagwatam, Canto 11, chapter 28, Gyan Yoga. We understand before they elaborately describing about this, and now here they again describing in short. It is most important chapter, and in 8 shlokas they are describing about how we uh, understand what is important for us. Here one point is most important, that uh, who uh, does not indulge in material criticism or praise. That person like the sun wanders freely throughout this world, and he accept which is important for his service to for the Lord Krishna. Prabhuji will tell you in detail. Vancha kalpatarubhe cha krupa sindhu eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are starting a very wonderful chapter. After having learned the importance of deity worship, Krishna is now summarizing the process of Jnana Yoga. In fact, previous chapters have already described it in detail. Krishna is giving us more examples of it as we come to the conclusion of the 11th canto. Every created thing in this universe is actually a material product, which consists of the three modes of nature. And since it is material, it is subject to sensory perception. And so actually it is unreal. The designations that we think good, bad, we talk about so many aspects. This is good, this is bad, these are good activities of the world, these are bad. Actually, they are all superficial. Krishna says it is always better to avoid condemning or praising anything of this world, because by doing it, we are only entangling ourselves in matter and depriving ourselves of the higher goals of spiritual life. Hidden within every object of this material universe is the spirit soul, which underlies both the causes and products of manifest existence. So we should see things in this light and thus move about the material world in a mood of complete detachment. And that is what is an ideal way to lead life. So Krishna is explaining, please don't criticize, don't praise anything in the conditioned nature or any activity of any person, because it is a combination of material nature and the enjoying souls. Whoever is going to indulge in such praising or criticizing the qualities and behavior of others will become deviated from his own best interest by entanglement of illusory dualities. So this is a very big risk which we carry in our life. So let us take and come to a conclusion. No praising and no any kind of showing what is bad in anyone. Because we don't want to get into this illusion anymore. Because this is an illusion of dreaming, death-like state of deep sleep. So we have to encounter and we have to overcome this illusion. Something which can be expressed by material words or meditated upon by material mind is not the truth. So everything what we think is temporary, it is illusion, and it is something which is an identification of the conditioned soul with material mind, body, and ego. So this identification generates fear within the person till the moment of death. The only truth is super soul, which is the ultimate controller and creator of the Paramatma. He alone is also the creator. The soul exists within himself, maintains and is maintained, withdraws and is withdrawn. Nothing else can be properly assigned as separate from Paramatma. The only truth, therefore, Krishna says, is super soul. So one who understands this process of becoming firmly fixed in theoretical and realized knowledge does not indulge in material criticism or praise. So just like the sun is able to wander freely in the sky from east to west, north to south, Uttaraya and Dakshina, and whatever way it wants, similarly, such person can become free. The material senses are described as Taijasa because they are born of false ego in the mode of passion. So again, that is very dangerous. See, Krishna is the only well-wisher for us. No other body. Therefore, execution of his order is good. And if you don't follow his order, disobey it, then that is bad. So Krishna has created the perfect social and occupational system. That is Varnashram Dharma. And in fact, he has given perfect spiritual knowledge in Bhagavad Gita. So execution of Krishna's order will bring about complete success. In whatever manner you want, psychological, social, political, economic, spiritual, all success if you follow Krishna's orders. And such orders are the laws of nature. They are the ones which constitute the essence, substance of religion. And who brings us those orders to us as it is? The Guru Parampara system. So the Guru disciple system which has been established, wherein whatever Krishna has said as it is being explained to us. And we are very fortunate to have that knowledge as it is. So let us not pursue the false happiness in deadly embrace of Maya. Let us not deviate from eternal loving relationship of Krishna. Because that when we become favorable for serving Krishna and reject whatever is unfavorable, following the guidance of bona fide spiritual master, we will be becoming a pure devotee. And then we will be suitable enough to go back home, back to Godhead, which is our ultimate objective of our life. Hare Krishna.